Israel's conflict with Palestinian militant group Hamas has escalated into a full-blown war. Israel says that 100 of their people have been kidnapped by the militant group and taken to Gaza. The latest developments reveal that 700 are dead in Israel, including 55 Israeli soldiers, and over 400 have been killed in Gaza. But the death toll continues to rise. Families at both ends are struggling to locate missing loved ones as they scramble inside bomb shelters and school buildings. The West Asian region is staring at a fresh wave of volatile tensions, the scale of which has shocked world leaders. As the war continues to unfold, our next report brings you the latest developments from the second day of this unprecedented conflict.
The Israel-Palestine conflict has reared its ugly head frequently in the last few decades. In the latest, what began as an unprecedented attack by Gaza's Hamas militant group on October 7th has now escalated further on the second day of the conflict. Israel's Security Cabinet has approved and ratified a declaration of war. There's no holding back now. Israeli defense forces have bolstered their presence on all fronts. Hundreds have died on both sides. The death toll continues to rise by the minute. Civilians in Israel and Gaza are frantically looking for their missing loved ones. But the Hamas militants are not the only ones attacking and pounding Israel. On day 2 of the war, Lebanon's militant group Hezbollah also fired mortar shells and bombed 3 of Israel's military outposts in southern Lebanon's occupied territories. Iran-backed Hezbollah has also claimed that they successfully disabled an Israeli radar station in the area. Amid intense fighting, efforts are being made on the diplomatic sidelines. The chief of the Arab League, Ahmad Abul-Ghaith, is visiting Moscow, seeking a seemingly unlikely frontrunner in negotiating a peace agreement. Abul-Ghaith will hold talks with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to highlight the morbid situation in Gaza. While negotiations and a potential ceasefire hangs by a delicate thread, there's a more dangerous sticking point in this war, the scale of which both regions have never witnessed before: the Israeli hostage situation. The Hamas group has released footage of several Israelis, including soldiers, being taken hostage. While it remains unclear as to how Israel plans to handle the hostage situation, the country's defense forces have granted a 24-hour time period for Palestinians and other settlers to evacuate the Gaza Strip. Clearly, the warning is just a sign of things to come. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
After Israel's Security Cabinet voted to put the country at war, the Defense Minister of Israel, Yoav Gallant, held a security assessment meeting, issuing a stern warning to Hamas. The leader has said that Israel's response to Hamas will be not forgotten easily. The Defense Minister has instructed top Israeli Defense Forces officials to focus on wiping out the enemy to defend the citizens of Israel. The Defense Minister expressed appreciation on safe evacuation of Israeli civilians living near the Gaza Strip. He also instructed the Israeli establishment to execute similar plans in the north side of the country, or in the north of the country. Yoav Gallant has also ordered Israeli forces to provide weapons and ammunition to communities that reside near the security fence. Every officer in the Israeli Defense Force will work closely with mayor and community leader in that region. Well, our correspondent Jody Cohen has been tracking this story very closely. She has sent us this report from Ranana.
So in the latest, former Defence Minister Benny Gantz, who's now head of the National Unity Party and is actually leading in recent polls in Israel, he has just made an announcement to the nation saying that he is willing to join Netanyahu's government. Now, this is a very significant announcement that he's made, and he said that his focus is on coming together, unity and winning together. Now, Yair Lapid also said that he would be willing to join the government. However, he had some conditions. He was saying that, number one, he wanted to be foreign minister, he wanted Benny Gantz to be the defense minister, and he also wanted Netanyahu to eject the ultra-nationalist party heads Smotrich and Ben Gvir from the Israeli coalition, which Netanyahu was not willing to do. So as far as it is now, Gantz is going to be joining the coalition. Lapid is not going to be joining the coalition. Lapid is the head of the Yesh Atid party and formerly head of the Israeli opposition. Now, Foreign Minister Eli Cohen has been updating on conversations he's been having with world leaders. He says that more than 80 countries have expressed their support for Israel, with some even reconsidering their aid that they're sending to the Palestinians. Secretary of State Antony Blinken from the US has been calling on Palestinian Authority President Abbas to condemn Hamas's attacks, which we haven't heard of has happened yet. And also the protest leaders, this is also significant. They have been saying these are the protesters against judicial reform in Israel. They've been very influential. They said that they're now putting all their energy and resources into helping the war effort. This is Jodie Cohen for WION World is One.
Well, the horrors of the Hamas offensive glares most perhaps in the Israeli town of Sderot. On the roads, inside cars and even inside houses, Hamas fighters traveling in ground vehicles, motorized paragliders and boats breached Gaza security barrier and attacked nearby Israeli towns and military posts.
נכנסתי לאינטרנט, ראיתי שיש חדירה של מחבלים. עוד לא ידעתי מה באמת הולך, מה קורה. אתם יכולים לראות ברקע, אפילו יש את הגופות שלהם. ואחר כך יצאתי לשטח, התחלתי להסתובב וראיתי מלא גופות של מחבלים, של אזרחים, מכוניות מפוצצות.
Streets bore bullet holes and some were still burning after the attack. These are cars that were headed somewhere. Ambulances, police officers and members of Israel's armed forces are also at the scene. Sderot is just 4 kilometers from the Gaza Strip and has been bearing the brunt of previous Palestinian shelling attacks. The escalation comes against a backdrop of surging violence between Israel and Palestinian militants in the West Bank, which together with the Gaza Strip is part of the territories where Palestinians have long sought to establish a state.
אני מבין שאלה אנשים, לא רק אלה, גם בכל האזור פה, הם הורגים אנשים חפים מפשע. אבל כשאני מסתכל עליהם, אני רואה בחורים צעירים, שאני אומר, כמו שאומרים בערבית, בחרם, פשוט חבל, הם הולכים למות ונהרגים. ופשוט אני יכול להגיד שחבל. בחורים צעירים בחרו דרך לא נכונה, וככה גמרו את החיים שלהם.
Israel responded with massive airstrikes deep inside the coastal enclave, killing scores and wounding hundreds of people and vowing unprecedented retaliation. Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh said the assaults that had begun in Gaza would spread to the West Bank and Jerusalem. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.